So, what came to my mind when you start with this proposition about the theme of our next international congress was the movie by Stanley, the last movie of Stanley Kubrick, where the hero is more or less absolutely lost. I wouldn't say in translation, but lost all over the place. And his wife at the end says to him, okay, let's fuck. And that's the end of his, how can I say that, errance, is being lost. That's why I was sensible to the title of the last word of Kubrick's movie as a solution to there is no sexual rapport. That's the title of our next international congress. So I went to see what designates the term rapport. It's mathematical, it has many meanings, but I choose one, which is, according to me, the strongest. It's the meaning it has in mathematics. By the way, it's very clear, although not explicit, that Lacan how can I say that? It's not explicit, it's implicit. But Lacan has a feel, follows a string, which is mathematics. And it reveals itself, especially at the end of his teaching, with many discussions, many seminars where he was discussing with Souris, who was a mathematician. So the relationship of Lacan with mathematics is constant, although hidden in general. Not hidden, just not explicitly claimed. I'm sorry, it's difficult to speak English when you are not in the in the bath of the language. So in mathematics, rapport or a ratio is the quotient of two values of the same kind. And it is written by a symbol, 2 points or a small slash. It implies that there is a relation between two quantities. And it is fundamental in science such as physics, economy, and statistics. It's a grandeur. I don't know how to translate it because it's mathematic vocabulary. It's a grandeur without dimension. That is to say, it is not related to the dimensions it compares. It is a comparison between two quantities of the same nature using the same unit for measurement. Of course, there are other meanings of the term rapport. A sum up of a question, for example, like in, I don't know how you say that in English, rapport d'activité. Activity, rapport, you say that in English or don't? When you got an activity, and at the end of this activity, you make a sum up of everything you've been doing. Okay, rapport.
A report, maybe.
You say report.
Yeah.
Report. Okay.
Not
So
report. Report.
Report of a social, administrative, or political series of measures and a judgment on their efficiency. So that's I choose in order to interpret the formula by Lacan, there is no sexual rapport. I choose the mathematic one. So between what there is no rapport and why is there no rapport? I would say that there is no rapport, although there are many relations, and although in French, when a woman or a man speaking of a man, of a partner, says, nous avons eu des rapports, we had rapport. That means we had sexual intercourse. So it seems that there are rapport. So it seems contradictory with the affirmation by Lacan that there is no sexual rapport. But it's far more clear if you consider that how can I say that? Well, first you have to have in mind that there is a difference between the term rapport and the term relationship. No, it's not the same thing. And Lacan is very precise in general on the words he chooses. So there is no rapport between what and what? Between man and woman. That's what it means. There are relations, there are exchanges, there are fights, there are reconciliation, but no rapport. So that made me come back to the seminar on feminine sexuality encore. And I'm going to use it, especially the chapter 7 and 11. Do you have this seminar in mind? Precisely. Okay. Then you know that there are two moments in the seminar which are absolutely essential. One is the tableau, the map One is this one. You see, okay? You have to have it in mind or in your sight. And the last chapter, which is called The Rat in the Maze, both chapters being fundamental in order to elucidate this extremely provocative formulation, there is no sexual relation, which in a way seems absolutely absurd to anyone who is not a psychoanalyst or who, without being an analyst, who has not read the theory by Freud and by Lacan. Now, my point, I don't know really how to develop it. I think I'm going to precise the little schema of the chapter 7. Which end, and the previous chapter ends or is written. It's very important. Is title God and the Woman, W, capital W, barred. You have the seminar in your hands or not? Okay, so in page 77 you can see that God and woman's jouissance, and woman is barred, as if there was no woman. That's one of the chapter, and the other chapter, the following, at the end of the chapter 6, the following is the chapter 7, and it started by this little writing, which in a way is the key of the seminar. First, it's a period of his teaching where the equivoque and the play on words, on the materiality of words, is fundamental. The chapter 7 is titled A Love Letter. So what did you feel? Come on, participate. You're all mute.
It's like the love letter.
No, it's a seminar. It's not a cours magistral.
I can pitch in right now. We did read us the love letter last year, very precisely. One of the things that we were kind of looking at before we get to love is when we were looking at the graph at the table, is that what is scratched is not woman but the.
Yeah.
So it is like the category of women. So then this kind of like that took us to understanding what is the phallic logic and what is the beyond logic. And so anyway, that's what we were kind of working with.
Yeah. And you've seen that in French, which is impossible to translate to English, a love letter is written in French in an inventive way. It would be orthograph at the level of the orthograph, an error. He puts a little, sorry, un petit tréma, petit accent, un accent circonflexe. That's it.
Yeah.
Un accent circonflexe sur amour.
Amour.
In French, love is amour.
Mm-hmm.
Not only in psychoanalysis, in general, okay?
Yeah.
But in French, amour is written A-M-O-U-R. There is no, I don't know the word for this little thing on amour that you show.
Yeah, there's no accent
That's it.
Yeah.
Accent circonflexe in French.
Circumflex accent, yeah.
Yeah, there is not
No.
in l'amour. So it's an interpretation that Lacan gives. It's not that he doesn't know how to write amour.
Yeah. He's playing with the A and giving it a hat.
He wants to put that on amour. Why? Do you have the idea? Why?
I'm thinking about the place of the circumflex. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Please.
I'm thinking about the circumflex as a way of eliding a letter that used to be there. Yes, like in hôpital or in hotel, the circumflex is kind of demarcating that there used to be an S, there used to be something there, and now it's no longer there. It's the kind of effaced trace of the history of a word. I think. I do not know. What do you think, Simon?
Yes, I have not. I didn't think about what you just said, and I find it very wise. But I was thinking myself to the fact that the soul in French. How do you say soul in French?
L'âme.
With the small accent. So in a way, in writing amour, letter d'amour, it's an indication to the relation of the soul, l'âme. And what appears there is that this equivoque between âme and amour, written the way he does, Lacan does, is a reference to the other of jouissance. Because jouissance is, in a way, the first interpretation you can give of amour if you write it with this little accent in relation to soul. So it differentiates this jouissance from what is, let's say, sexual pleasure. It's different. It takes place in an other dimension, let's say. And that isn't, that's what I think. Maybe you will not agree, but that's a way to define love, amour, the relation with the soul, as a mode of jouissance. And in a way, the whole seminar 20 is dedicated to differentiation between different mode of jouissance, way of jouissance. Now, this A, when it's written with a capital letter, takes you towards love, takes you towards soul, A in French, and another play on word, because it's a moment in his teaching where Lacan makes all the time equivoque. One of them being mur, à mur. Un mur is something that separates, that isolates. So in a way, à mur is a way to touch by the equivoque the wall between between speaking beings. Because of course, this is not the problem for the non-speaking being. I mean the animals. I am a grandmother, and I have a grandson who is 16. And he is absolutely, since he was small, he is absolutely dedicated, working, reading on animals, any animals, especially insects, but any animals. So he was speaking to me about the lions, the species lions. Everyone knows them, of course. Well, he was telling me that a male lion sleeps 23 hours a day. That's a lot, isn't it? On 24, he sleeps 22 or 23 hours. So he doesn't do anything. Especially, it does not hunt. It's the female. The hunter is the female. And the female, the lion female, I don't know how it, lioness, you say? Okay, the female lion go to hunt, kill animals, take them to the lion, the male. If the lion fucks her. Fucks. I don't know if you say eat or for animals, do you say eat or do you say yes? It's neutral. I cannot hear you anyway.
It should be neutral. It should be neutral, but in political times, we never know.
Well, the female lion brings to eat to the male lion, which happens to wake up in order to eat, and it has to eat only if he fucks. So that's clear enough. So as far as animals are concerned, the question of love does not exist the way it exists in relation to soul, as I just mentioned it. It has to do with necessity. And although some species have complicated systems of communication, although the relationship between male and female are very different in many different species, birds, for example, are very faithful. A lot of birds, I don't know exactly the name, especially in English, but they have a partner for life. Okay, which is not the case in general for human beings. Or it's very rare to have a partner for your whole life in general. You change. So I was saying that in order to emphasize the fact that the jouissance is linked to love and is linked, therefore, because of the accent, to the soul. Okay, that was my first point. There is no sexual relation is different from not fucking or reproducing yourself or not, etc. There is something different there. And the seminar Encore is dedicated to that. So you got the A of the big A, le grand autre. In English, it's O, big other, small other, which is semblable, and another form, another use of the letter A is the object little a. So you see, you can make a series with capital A, small a, and object A. And that emphasizes what comes where there is no sexual rapport. That is, because there is no sexual rapport for speaking being, that we've got all these concepts, in a way, Lacan playing on the equivoque of all of them. That was my first point. Now let's go back to this mark You say tableau? How do you say that? Mark of sexuation? How do you call that? The
Tables
sketch
of
I'm going to
sexuation.
show you. How do you call it?
Tables of
table.
sexuation.
The table of
Table of
sexuation.
sexuation. Exact. It was the same in French. Okay. Now, there is something for me important. Maybe it can be discussed if you feel like it. But at least in French, les hommes, manhood, is not sexuated. The species of manhood includes all speaking beings, be them at the level of the organism, male or female. And you know that it's very, at least in France, it was no longer, but for centuries, women were supposed to speak too much. And were silenced. It's not the case any longer, but it has been like that. So they were speaking being prevented to speak in a way. And that pushes me towards the fact that when you say les hommes, in French you say human beings. But there is an equivoque, which I think does not exist in English. The connotation of man and woman is fundamental in English, and in French, when you say les hommes, you mean the human beings, whatever biological sex they have, or psychical sex today they have. The human beings, that's what it means. So I read this tableau, table of sexuation, and I am authorized, I have to do that because of what Lacan says. On this side, you put all the speaking being, be them female or male. And on this side, you put woman, which is barred. How do you understand, or what does it mean? You must add to that Lacan says woman and man are not complementary. Womanhood is supplementary. They are male who experimented the supplementary jouissance, which is the jouissance, the feminine jouissance. So this table of sexuation has to do not only with the identity of the subject, but has to do with a thesis. There is a thesis there, very important one, which is that the difference is not between man and woman as far as human beings are concerned, because they speak. It is womanhood is, as far as jouissance is concerned, how can I say that? Supplementary. You can understand it by the difference, which is the same in French and English, between complementary and supplementary. The relationship, and this is a manifestation of the thesis, there is no sexual rapport. The relationship between man and woman is not of complementarity. It's that sometimes for a moment and for someone, you pass to feminine jouissance, although you are okay with the phallic one and with the jouissance of the fantasy. You see, by the way, on this table of sexuation, the fantasy. Can you see it? I have it, thanks to you. I have it here. It's a line that comes from the masculine part of the table, S, that's it, thank you, towards A, object little a, which happens in that case to be on that side. And you got the A, the barred A, S de grand tabaret, which means that the status of the other, big other of language is different on that side. And you got there the woman that does not exist as such all the time. You can be a woman at some moment, but it's not linked to a process of identification. I'm not speaking of the social definition of what is a woman or the biological definition of what is a female. Speaking, sometimes you can be on the biological and social side of woman, but functioning like a man. I mean, like a man, like a speaking being. And you can be a man, biologically and socially, and at the level of the experience of jouissance, you can function sometimes as a woman, as feminine. So I think that's one of the reason, not the it's in the same time a reason and a consequence of the fact that there is no sexual rapport, no possibility, because there is no. I was telling you the definition of rapport in mathematics. It is a grandeur without dimension. So, in a way, there is no possibility to make a comparison or to establish a comparison between what has to do with masculinity and femininity as far as the jouissance is at stake. That would be my first point. Now, let's go to the difference between jouissance and desire. In relation with there is no sexual rapport. For any speaking being, except, let's say, although it can take some different combination, but for any speaking being, there is what we call a fantasy. And Freud worked on fantasy, fundamental fantasy, etc. What is a fantasy? Fantasy is a little formulation of which Freud gives the first example in his work, a child is being beaten. A fantasy is a combination that you mobilize in order to get satisfaction, sexual satisfaction. But that, in a way, has to do first with masturbation, and in a way, is a large part of the speaking being sexual rapport, which has to do with masturbation and using the fantasy. Each of us has a fantasy, a fundamental fantasy, which has been organized in the childhood around the object A, of which you know the list. The oral object, the anal object, the phallic object, and Lacan add two other objects, which are the voice and the look. This is what organizes fantasy, and this is the way of a jouissance, which, of course, has nothing to do with a rapport, but has to do with the object A. In a way, we could say that we have the impression that we have a sexual rapport each time we mobilize the fantasy and have that satisfaction of the body. We could say that. But that doesn't mean that there is a relationship between a man and a man, a man and a woman and a woman. And that's what I wanted first to say. I'm going to finish by a quotation by Lacan. He says, at the end of this seminar, page in the last, the rat in the maze. Where is it? Yeah, it's French one. It's the last part of the ultimate chapter, The Rat in the Maze. It's part 3.
What page?
Wait, I'm going to... Yeah. Page 131, 131 in the French edition, number 4 of the chapter.
Okay.
Okay.
Here it is.
I say
141 in English.
To change the subject, I will say that what is important in what has been revealed by psychoanalytic discourse, and one is surprised not to see its thread everywhere, is that knowledge which structures the being who speaks on the basis of a specific cohabitation is closely related to love. All love is based on a certain relationship between two unconscious knowledge. So there is a difference. That's why I was mentioning fantasy first. You got jouissance, you got, that's my cat, sorry. There is jouissance, there is the fantasy, and there is love. In a way, love comes because of that there is no sexual rapport. Love can develop itself, and of course hatred too, but can develop itself in that field. So Lacan says, I will say that what is important in what has been revealed by psychoanalytic discourse, and one is surprised not to see its thread everywhere, is that knowledge, which structures the being who speaks on the basis of a specific cohabitation, and the word is important, is closely related to love. So knowledge, sexual knowledge, is related to love. All love is based on a certain relationship between two unconscious knowledge. And it is in the same time related to love, and it suppose the existence of fantasy, because fantasy provides, in a way, or put into light the importance of the object A in love. Now, there is another expression. Lacan says in that chapter, the end of that chapter, there is no sexual rapport because la jouissance de l'autre, the other jouissance, taken as a body, is always inadequate. This is really the fundamental of the fundamental argument on which this expression, there is no sexual rapport, is based. The jouissance of the other, big other, taken as body, if you take that other as a body, is always inadequate. Either it is perverse if this other of the jouissance is the big A, and there is a theory of perversion there. Either it's mystic, it's mystical. Is it clear for you or not?
Marie-Hélène, could you unpack, could you explain, develop a little bit the idea of perversion in this context? How I think this is actually really rather important. How
Yes,
the big other becomes a petite
okay.
other.
He says,
can we read it again? Yes, that would be great.
there is no sexual relation, rapport, sorry. There is no rapport sexuel because the jouissance of the big other taken as a body is always inadequate. First, inadequation. If you take the other as a big other, the question is what means big other when Lacan write with a capital letter other. Let's go to perversion. The theory, the clinical theory of Lacan on perversion is very, is clinically extraordinary for me. I find it wonderful, so clear. Generally, in everyday talks, when you say of somebody that is a pervert, you think he is enjoying for himself and hate the other. Lacan turn it around, and he says that the pervert is someone that dedicates himself to make the small other to which he's got a relation with, to make the small other a big other. So in a way, the pervert devotes himself to the jouissance of the big other which implies that the partner is absolutely not his interest. It's beyond the partner that the pervert is trying to satisfy, to give a jouissance to the capital other, in a way. Am I clear or not for you? Yes? Okay. And Lacan says, the jouissance of the big other can be taken that way by the pervert, but can be taken in another way by the mystical. So you got here an opposition, a differentiation, better said, between perversion and mysticism. For the pervert, his devotion is to provide jouissance to the big other, which of course is absolutely irrelevant, but it's kind of sustain of the big other. Or the other solution is the mysticism. And here, this is very important. I'm going to develop a little with a clinical case. The cover in French is a saint and an angel providing an arrow to the saint. A few years ago, yes, during the first confinement, I had been working on the mysticism with Laura Sokolowski. And we had been working especially on Sainte Thérèse d'Avila. Sainte Thérèse d'Avila is a very interesting lady. I'm not going to speak about history, which is from small nobility, become a nun, and is famous by her ecstasies, which she called transverberation, which caused her a lot of pain, but it was an ecstasy. And she was testimonying that she was totally dissolved in a way in her love for God, which didn't stopped her from being very active. She created an order, she created a lot of convent, she went to see the Pope, and she was a very action woman, very, very much active. But she was speaking about her experiences, body experience of ecstasy. And in that case, let's say that it's more on the side of love, precisely, that jouissance is derivated. It's not the fetishism that takes place in desire, because we are all, when we desire someone, as I said, it has to do with your fantasy, and it has to do with fetish. When you really feel attracted sexually, bodily by someone, you can be sure that this someone has a little trait that triggers your desire. I don't know, it can be anything in a way. It can be a way to walk, a way to speak, a way to not speak, a way to anything. But it has to do with one of your very primary experiences in childhood. As far as mysticism is concerned, I don't think it's a jouissance. First, it's a jouissance which is clearly without a partner. I mean, without a fantasy. So what it is it amour, love, soul? Question of soul, surely. And I happen to not only to have been working on Sainte-Thérèse d'Avila and Saint-Jean-de-la-Croix, because this is not a question of biological difference, not at all. Saint-Jean-de-la-Croix is testimonying to of those kind of experiences of the whole body. But it happens that I have a patient who, in a way, and each way is different, of course, for each subject and each history, is a mystic. She happens to be a mathematician and a physicist. And high level, international level, let's say. She's a woman of power too. She directs a very important laboratory in one of our best investigation institute. And she has got, she can testimony of a research of those kind of experience, because she has been trying everything she could, substance, other culture, and she can relate a few experience of mysticism, mentioning not at all God in a way, mentioning her body escaping to herself, being this time in a rapport with a big other, without the small a, That is to say, without fantasy. I think that for her, in a way, or she allowed me to understand that the mysticism is one alternative to this formula, there is no sexual rapport, because it's a way to conciliate, in a way, yes, ecstasy of the body and relation to the big other, not to a small other. I think, therefore, the expression, there is no sexual rapport, the Kubrick solution, what was it? It's let's fuck. That is to say, let's have the jouissance of the fantasy. And the whole movie has to do with fantasy. But there is another way, maybe to, I don't know how to say it. To replace the sexual rapport which does not exist by love, be that love mystical. That is to say, be that love not linked to the fantasy and the fetish. That doesn't make the sexual rapport exist. That comes in that place where there is not. In a way, we could say there is no sexual rapport. The Kubrick solution be let's use fantasy, but in a way, in that case, it will be only fetishism, or it can be mysticism, and in that case, it's not the A, the object little a, which functions. It's the big other in which you get melted. That's what they say, what they speak about. They dissolve themselves. So I don't know, this formulation, there is no sexual rapport, is one of the founding of psychoanalysis. It differentiates psychoanalysis from psychology, from medicine, from religion, in a way. There is no sexual rapport, doesn't mean there is no sexual jouissance. Maybe it's a way to say the only succédané, you say how succédané? The only way
Derivative.
to replace the rapport that there is not. One of them is fantasy, the other one is perversion, and the other one is this position of being in God's hand. I got another patient. She's from. She's not French. She's from another country where there are important mystics in that country. And one of her first, let's say, saying in analysis was the following one. There is a god in India, which is an ape. I don't know the name of that god, but it's a god ape. And when she was a little girl, she thought that she was taken into the arms of this god, of this ape god. So she was perfectly well.
Hanuman?
Absolutely. And it's a key memory of infancy. And she had that kind of experience in a different context. Since, as an adult, especially when making very important physical efforts, physical experiences like walking and being exhausted and keeping walking up to encounter that way to be in her body, but free of her body in a way. And I think it's a mystical solution. So there is no sexual rapport, but there are a few solutions. Some are neurotic, some are psychotic, some are pervert, some are mystical. That's it. Sorry, I'm not difficult for me to speak English when I am not with
Very well, anyway.
English people. I'm sorry. We can have a small discussion if you feel like it.
Yeah. You did amazing, Marie-Hélène. Thank you so much. Yeah. We can open to question. You can raise your hand. I wanted to ask you something,
In
Marie-Hélène.
a way, love is one solution. That's I spoke about mysticism for that. Love is one solution to there is no sexual rapport. And if you say love, hatred too, which is a less pleasant possibility, but very, very used historically.
Yeah. I have a question, Marie-Hélène,
Yeah.
because when I started, I found Lacan, one of the things that really was about the real, no, the dimension of the real. I couldn't understand. So the way that my background in computer, the mathematics, helped me to, well, that's the way that I understood the reals, no, the real numbers are those that you cannot count, that they don't have correspondent, like between every number you have infinite numbers. So there is no you cannot count them. There is no correspondent between the numbers, the real and the symbolic, no, and the counting, the natural number. So I always understood that when we say no sexual relation or rapport, yeah, no, there is no rapport. Not so, because always we talk about the sexes, no, the genders, like the feminine part and the formulas, no. But I think that for me, my question is more the relation with the real and the symbolic with this non-sexual relation, no, non-sexual rapport. Because in anything we have this match, no, this perfection. Always there is a mismatch, always. Not only between sexes, but in every life, like the misunderstanding in the knowledge, like the translations. Like, for instance, you cannot between the languages, no? So I see that there is no rapport in everything, like, so that's my question, no? That and I think the real, for me, makes that impossibility, no? That we try to match or to understand or to translate, but nothing, we need to live with this not matching in. So I don't know if my question about this.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I thank you, because you started your question by mentioning the dimension of the real. And of course, I didn't, I could have built my talk with the three dimension, real, symbolic, imaginary. It's clear that the symbolic and the imaginary veil the fact that there is no sexual rapport. And that's why I started from mathematics, because precisely mathematics have to do with the dimension of the real, which is not the case for other scientific discipline. And it's not a hazard that one of the patients I was speaking about is a great scientist. So she's got a relationship with the real. So I thank you. In a way, when Lacan said there is no sexual rapport, he is speaking from the dimension of the real. Because imaginary and symbolic dimension exist for each of us a sexual rapport. If you marry someone, in a way, the symbolic comes into the whole of the real. There is no rapport. And imaginary too. That's why I was mentioning fantasy, in order to in a way, cover, hide this affirmation, which where Lacan refer himself to the real, to the mathematics. That's why I started from saying that ratio, quotient, quotient
Exactly.
of two values of the same kind. Of course, you understand,
Yeah.
between man and woman, we are not of the same kind.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Thank you.
there are two values that cannot be compared. And it's not male and female, it's inside each of us,
Yes, exactly.
male and female.
Inside.
In a way, man all the time, woman sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know, for example, as far as I'm concerned, that when I am on the feminine side, better not to have any relation with me because because no and other questions. So when you see that I think it's going to be very interesting, this meeting of the IMP, because it's going to be developed in many, many different ways. But we could say that the reason there is no sexual rapport is because we are speaking being. That's why I was saying that for a lion, no problem.
Thank you. Yeah. We have two questions and then we finish. Yeah. Sanem?
Thank you. Thank you, Marie-Hélène. This was amazing. And this the quotation that you worked with at the end of seminar 20 is surprising. Your unpacking is surprising, because once we read a little bit more into it, we also encounter Ines's question, because Lacan returns to the real there. And what he says is that regarding one's partner, love can only actualize, in a sort of poetic flight, a courage with respect to this fatal destiny, which is the destiny towards the impossible, towards the real. So I'm hearing this is as love not only covers the whole, but love also points towards that whole.
Absolutely.
That there is the whole, that
You're
there is a
very
whole
right.
there.
You're very right. Yes. Yes.
So in that sense,
And,
it is
and
in
that's
direct relation.
our problem is that we are speaking being, clearly. Our problem
Yes.
with the real is that. But it's our solution too.
Exactly, which is the imperfect solution, though. I mean, it's so wonderful. I mean, it is the solution, but the imperfect solution, because it points towards
Because there
this.
is a jouissance in speaking, as we are demonstrating it right now. There is a jouissance in speaking, which is absolutely clear. So,
Yes.
and
I just wanted to
there
say
is
that.
something
Thank you.
important to say there. There is something important, thanks to you. What is the position of the analyst? It is to shut up. I am a little too talkative as an analyst. I know it. So I have my own interpretation in French. I'm going to say it in French anyway. Transference is the name of sujet, supposé, savoir. How do you say that in English? subject supposed to know.
Yes,
Subject
subject
Yes.
supposed to know.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had something as far as the analysis is concerned. When I sujet supposé savoir se taire. Subjects supposed to know how to shut up. And it's difficult.
Brilliant.
It's difficult. Sometimes
Brilliant.
it's difficult.
Yeah,
No,
excellent.
most
Thank
of the
you.
time it's difficult.
Yeah, thank you. Alexandra?
Yes, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Hélène. Bruce, I can't show my face because my internet connection is very weak. Thank you for talking about the experience of mystic. My question is, can you say some words about what body are we?
Wait. It's not an hazard if Lacan had chosen that or Émile.
Yes. And my question is if you can say some words about the body of jouissance of the mystic. What kind of body are we talking here? The real body of whatever, lights, of real. What kind of body are we talking here? That's my problem. Thank you.
Both. I think the three, the body as real organism, the body as symbolic, and the body as imaginary. When I was working with Laura Sokolowski, I phoned to an ex-patient of mine who happened to be one of the scientists most recognized today, but he is a specialist of epilepsy. And he could say if it was epilepsy or if it was hysteria in a way. So I asked him, what about Saint Therese? What was it? And he told me, "Puff, it's very clear. She was an epileptic, and she gave that signification to her crisis of epilepsy." So that's science. And maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. Maybe she was epileptic and having crisis and values them and interpreting them with the object of her love, God. It was a little masochist too. As a masochistic love. When the Indian patient I was speaking about is not at all on the side of the masochism. And we had been working on another mystic, a woman too, I don't remember, 88th century, 9th century. But she was on the Muslim side. So there are mystics in the Muslim, and there are mystics in the Jewish too.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. So mysticism is trans-religion in a way and trans-cultural. Therefore, it has to do with no sexual rapport for any of us. But it takes place and it appears different in function of the cultural, symbolic dimension. The subject is the result, of which the subject is a result. That's it. Bye-bye.
Much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much.
Sorry
Thank
for the
you.
English. I would have,
No,
when I am not in the bath, in the
Yeah,
yeah.
that's language.
Yeah, yeah. See you
Bye-bye.
in France. See you in Paris.
Is it cold in Toronto?
A little bit,
Not
yeah.
yet, not yet, not fully.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Going to
For
snow
some, there
in
is
Paris.
cold. Yeah.
Yes.
See you. See you in Paris. Thank you so much. Thank you.
When is the
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you.
You to everyone.
Thank you.